ready, brother?
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready, brother?
Yeah.
Are you ready for the Move Podcast Mania?
I always get Hulk Hogan impressions mixed with Macho Man Randy Savage.
It's the same person.
But there's a difference, and I can't always just slide into whether you're right on the edge of and sadly I think he did have a heart attack, but like right on the edge of just like
Having a heart attack. That's part of the wrestler lineage. You know, from 1984 to like I think 2003 or 1983 to 2003, there was 64 deaths in wrestling.
Wow.
That's a lot of deaths, bro.
20 years.
Yeah.
19 years.
Right. 63 deaths, most of them heart attacks, most of them drug or overdoses.
Kind of drugs?
Steroids, probably cocaine, a whole lot of stuff.
Probably cocaine, especially in the 80s, right?
Right. You know what I mean? This is just drug overdoses. Each case is a little different, so it's kind of hard to say like what the per se drug determining factor, but just drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs altogether.
You think weed had anything to do with any of those?
Nobody
deaths?
can die from weed.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure.
Nah.
All right, cool.
Up till now, there's been no deaths. There's this idiot physician in Denver that said that this kid died from eating an edible, but that hasn't been proven. Nobody's officially ever died from marijuana. You'd have to eat.
Could you die from doing something other than eating an edible? Like
yeah,
maybe
you
sticking
could
an
slam
edible
into a
somewhere else?
semi-truck driving really high.
No, I mean like
Don't drive motorcycles high.
eating an edible. We could stick an edible somewhere else maybe, and that would cause problems.
In the buttocks?
I just know. You said eating an edible. What else would you do with an edible?
I mean, got a joke for you, right?
Go.
Okay. So, I was going to say fat woman, but this just large person went to the doctor because she heard that this doctor had a miraculous new diet that makes everybody lose weight. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to paraphrase it. This joke was told to me in Spanish, and I'm translating it in my head.
Real time.
In Spanish, from English to Spanish.
Straight
Check it out, though.
Googling.
So, bigger lady shows up. Why are you shutting shit off, bro?
I don't know, bro.
Why'd you do that?
I try to do it with my mind's.
It's not even cool for you to do stuff like that while I'm in the middle of telling a joke.
Okay, well.
All right, so that's the sound of on. So, fat lady goes to the doctor because she hears this doctor has a miraculous diet. She shows up, she waits for 2 hours. She notices that everybody that's going there is kind of jumping around a little bit. They're a little bit more like, there's a lot of skinny people, you know what I mean? She's like motivated. She sees a doctor. Doctor checks the blood tests the blood, gives it the test, runs a whole bunch of physician shit, and comes back, and the diagnosis is what you have to do to lose weight is eat everything through your butt. Okay? So in order for you to lose weight, don't eat through your mouth, eat through your butt.
Right.
So it's hard, but that is the diet. So she comes back 6 months later looking like a dime piece, like she's like, eh. And that doesn't, I don't mean she looks good, she's just skinny as hell. You know what I mean? But she's mad, like jumpy. She's like moving around. She's all over the place. You know what I mean? And the doctor's like, sit down. What's wrong with you, woman? She's like, I lost this weight and I feel great. Wow. She's like, what, why are you moving around so much? She's like, I'm chewing gum.
Oh. I knew it was going to end bad. Whatever was going to happen, I knew it was going to end bad. Oh, God.
The reason I bring that joke up is that's wrestler humor. It's corny, straight to the line shit, but it's got to be descriptive so you understand it. And, you know, what they call wrestling is sports entertainment. Yeah, there's these big-ass muscle guys throwing each other around in panties. But at the end of the day, these guys are like poets. These guys are like Broadway actors.
For sure. They are definitely putting on a huge spectacle.
Yeah.
At all times, trying to be bigger. You know, I actually worked TNA wrestling.
Where?
Pay-per-view special.
Bring the mic a little closer.
Out of Universal.
Oh, what did you do? Some what? You were wrestling?
No, I was not wrestling. I basically spent a day doing everything, everyone, because I was a PA. It was just a PA gig. So, personal assistant gig, but it ended up being, all right, you go tie the ropes, put the tape around the ropes.
It was like a production job.
It was partly that, like I said, I did everything, or I had to run yes, it was a production job, but I had to run and go get this from Party City. I had to go get some like fake blood in Party City. I had to get this here. I had to get that there.
Did you see Hogan?
No, it wasn't that. It was TNA. I think it was.
Yeah, he was part of TNA.
Well, I'm not a wrestling fan per se, but he was not there. I think the biggest person I saw in my mind, or two people, was Jeff Jarrett. Mm-hmm. The dude played the guitar. I actually handed him the guitar during the match.
I don't remember.
And then one of the brothers, Hardy, one of the Hardy brothers, Matt Hardy, Ryan Hardy.
I want to go ahead and say that I'm not a fucking 100% wrestling fan, and anybody that tunes into this video and thinks is like a wrestling fanatic type of podcast, and we know like all the stats and who won this, I don't know that shit. Kimberly, our text-to-speech AI algorithm transitional woman, she might know the facts. I'm not going to know that type of stuff. So this is strictly about Florida, okay? Thanks. And things that are associated to Florida.
Hogan.
Well, wrestling has a big impact.
I did not know that either.
I didn't know that either.
No.
You know, we
put us on the game. Put me on the game. Put us on the game.
Well, doing the research for this episode, we were like, "Oh, what's the next episode?" We're like, "Yo, you ever heard of the whole Hulk Hogan Gawker lawsuit? It's pretty crazy. You know, he lived in Clearwater. Yeah, you know, he wears like bright ass shit. It's like this guy's a Floridian.
Yeah, for sure.
And he basically grew up in Tampa.
Right.
And I guess Tampa, there was a wrestler scene, and it's very popular in Central Florida. I guess there's like a big wrestler community. Yeah. It's given a lot of people jobs. Yeah. TNA was a revamp of a wrestling federation that Hogan was a part of.
Oh, okay.
But it was most of the wrestlers were casted, I think, in Central Florida. I know this because my brother-in-law Casey, Ashley's my girlfriend's brother. He's a wrestler, and he was part of the TNA stuff.
Oh wow!
So not only did you get a job from it, but he got a job
randomly. Yeah.
Trickle down economics right there.
I guess it works at some levels sometimes.
Yeah. So this episode is about Hulk Hogan, the Florida boy.
The Florida boy.
How much influence he's brought to the rest of the world from Florida. How Florida water basically helped mutate him into a supersized giant. He was only able to get that big because of the pH level in the Tampa area water.
That's proven.
I know
Is that
some
a theory.
I did some research.
You did some research.
You know my research.
I can't wait to see this research.
This is. I'm not going to show you that. That's deep stuff.
Okay.
That'll be for a later episode. But you're going to see how big he is, and you're going to know. Yo, Phraydoe was right. This guy was drinking some good water in Clearwater.
Hey,
you don't think the water is why he was such a big guy?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Probably his genetics, his family, and whatever
what?
steroid he was taking.
You're trying to say the Hulk Hogan took steroids?
I think he admitted to taking steroids.
This is America's Hercules. You're about to just sweep all those muscles under the rug and say that he was taking steroids.
First of all, clearly America's Hercules is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, number one. But I guess before The Rock, I don't think
white people look at older white people look so much at. Unfortunately, I do because he's a minority, someone that I can look up to because he's closer to my shade.
That I care about. Older white people's thoughts on things.
I'm just saying, in the 80s, let's think about what makes popular culture's mindset, okay? At the time,
in the 80s,
white people were running that shit.
It was Rocky and Hulk Hogan was Superman.
Right. That's because white people.
Mike Tyson, though?
White people were driving the truck of America's mindset at the time.
Mike Tyson, though?
But Mike Tyson was definitely like Mike Tyson and Eddie Murphy was when the spectrum of color started to change, and we started seeing a lot more like of these great super black comedian athletes.
I mean, we saw him before, but I hear what you're saying as far as on the other side of the table.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think Hulk Hogan could be like John Cena is a big white boy wrestler now. It's kind of corny. His raps kind of.
Well, kind of.
He could kick my ass.
I think he's going for corny.
Let me also say this: any wrestlers that tune into this and feel disrespected, if you're disrespected by me, please realize that I'm a fucking idiot, and you would be doing yourself a disservice to be disrespected by me or Thompson.
Yeah.
So feel free not to be angry.
I think it goes without saying. Like, I don't think I have to tell anybody out there.
That John Cena's raps are garbage?
I guess with that too. But no, what I'm saying is like that. It goes without saying that any wrestler, anybody who trains for a living to fight, is if they're pissed off, they could do whatever they want to either one of us.
For sure.
In like we sound like some bitches right now, but I guess we're just being honest.
That there's no dishonesty in bitches. That's being honest.
Okay. I guess I'll go with that.
Yeah, because they can kick our ass.
Very, very much so.
I mean, if I punch in the throat and kick in the balls, I might have a chance.
You get a longer, period of time.
Right.
But
they train.
They train.
They train.
They're not going to get tired.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not 1, 2, 3, 4 punches.
It's just one.
I think
one punch.
I think I would get a couple in. Not anything that would do anything necessarily, but I'd get at least a 3 before.
You think so?
Lights. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think I'd get like 3 in, even if it's like on the way down.
You're still gonna get 3 in.
The last 2,
or just 3 touches, like a shoulder rub. You know what I mean?
Like headbutt.
Like, hey, bro.
Headbutt.
A quick push.
Arguably, did I get hit or was I headbutting?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But the point is, don't feel disrespected. And also, what I'm saying is, Hulk Hogan could not be Hulk Hogan in modern day times because
he'd be John Cena.
Well, there's a new driver of the American mindset, truck driver thing that I was saying before. The metaphor of driving America's truck. In the 80s, white people was driving it with a weird mindset. That's why Hulk Hogan was able to be the hero. Like weird-ass blonde, like, what are those things called?
Handlebars.
Why are those handlebars? Are you handling them?
Because they look like handlebars.
You know that he used to hydrogen peroxide that shit?
Isn't that what people do when they bleach their hair like that?
I thought it was just naturally gold like that.
No, bro.
I thought he came out of the vagina like that.
Well, I've seen people like that surf and that spend a lot of time at the beach look like him, but he was clearly working out a lot inside, so I doubt he was at the beach to get that natural, like, sun bleached look. You know what I mean? I thought it was natural. I didn't know that you actually hydrogen peroxide. You could do that type of stuff. You can get that. Again, if you're like leathered out, like people who live in Cocoa and people who just be on the beach all day, every day, and just leathery skin, and then like they got just like bright colored everything.
Like that pirate DNA.
You know what I mean? But again, he had that. I think he got that through tanning or whatever, and like
the orange glow.
Orange glow and just the hair too. I think it's through. I think if for him to be that big, he would have to work out a lot, and generally you work out inside. I know you can work out outside, but I don't think he did a lot of like beach. I wouldn't know though. He's from Florida. His whole regiment may be being outside. I doubt it though.
Yeah.
So he can't just look like that naturally.
Well, he used to wrestle like 400 wrestling matches a year. So where do you fit like beach time in between that?
Man. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Do you like drop somebody and then go to the beach real quick?
Take
and
off.
Then come back to the stadium?
I doubt it, man. Like I said, it's probably like you said, it's the peroxide.
I often wonder.
That's okay though. It's okay, I think.
But my thing is scheduling, like what a man does during his day. You know what I mean? I wake up, brush my teeth, take the dog out, might get some breakfast. Nowhere in my day am I thinking about hydrogen peroxide in my beard.
Well, what if you had a thicker beard and you...
Nah. Unless I was a wrestler.
Right. Or whatever. Or an actor. Or a rapper that's acting like a wrestler who...
Are rappers
or a wrestler who's
wrestlers?
acting like are rappers new wrestlers?
Yeah.
I think every... whatever, rapping, acting, every art form that's public like that has their set of characters. You got, even in like BMX racing, there's the
But heel. That Ric Flair bravado, that comes, I think like rappers have taken that on, but again, as an aesthetic,
I think every segment, even in the NBA, you have a Ric Flair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Soulja Boy could be a wrestler now. That's not too far fetched to see Soulja Boy as a wrestler. Soldier Man.
Like what?
Like if we seen him on WWE right now, it wouldn't be far fetched. Because he's like, Tiger, like he does all that, like that's wrestler
Again,
shit.
in wrestling, to make it realistic, he has to be like,
You don't think Soulja Boy can throw hands?
He probably can. He probably can box or something like that, but that's not wrestling.
It would be cool to see like rappers in the wrestling ring.
Oh, like
other than like
claymation.
Like, there's a lot of like corny rappers that are wrestlers. Like, we already said John Cena, Insane Clown Posse. People will try to put albums out.
Yeah, for sure.
People will buy them.
Well, people buy generally a lot of stuff. I don't know why necessarily you'd buy something.
Donald Trump was a wrestler.
He made an appearance. He
was a wrestler.
No.
Yeah, he could throw that in his resume. You don't think he can throw that in his resume?
Arguably, I guess.
Yeah,
people
as a
throw all
TV
kinds of shit in
wrestler.
a resume that isn't true. That isn't all the way true.
This story is about big ass white boy man named Hulk Hogan. Terry Bollea came out his mother's vagina on August 11th, 1953. Some call him America's Hercules and part-time racist.
You need to stop being so judgmental about her. Stop it.
Now a retired
it.
pro wrestler, actor, television personality, entrepreneur, and musician. Musician, okay, brother. Let's just say he made music. According to IGN,
I agree.
Hogan is the most recognized wrestling star worldwide and the most popular wrestler of the 1980s. He enjoyed considerable popularity between 1984 and 1993 as a hero character in the World Wrestling Federation, or WWF. Are all you sperm that came out in the 80s. For now WWE for all you's 90s sperm. He also was a major part of the World Championship Wrestling WCW in the mid-1990s. In 1996, he became a villain, leading the New World Order NWO faction. Also known in the gay underground as the Lil Dick Clan.
Come on, bro. Is that true?
The WWF and WCW,
right,
WrestleMania,
I don't even know
and
what that means.
Starrcade against Sting. He closed the most profitable WCW pay-per-view ever at the 1997 edition of Starrcade. Aside from those promotions, he has notably performed for the American Wrestling Association AWA, New Japan Pro Wrestling NJPW and Total Nonstop Action Wrestling TNA. Hogan is a 12-time world champion, a 6-time WWF World Heavyweight Champion / WWF Champion with his last reign being as undisputed WWF / WWE Champion, and a 6-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion. His first WCW World Heavyweight Championship reign is the longest in history, while his first WWF Championship reign is the third longest ever and the longest of the 1980s. Hogan was the first wrestler to win consecutive Royal Rumbles in 1990 and 1991, and was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2005, by Sylvester Stallone. A 2015 racism scandal ended his relationship with WWE, although he returned in 2018 after making a number of apologies. This motherfucker did a lot of shit. And that's a lot of www. During and after wrestling, Hogan had an extensive acting career, beginning with his 1982 antagonist role in Rocky III. He has starred in several movies including No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny, and 3 television shows.
Mr. Nanny!
Suburban Commando,
Hogan knows
bro.
best in China,
Thunder,
as well as in night guard commercials and the video game.
Thunder in Paradise!
He was also the frontman for the wrestling boot band, whose sole record, Hulk Rules, reached number 12 on the Billboard Top 2 audio chart in 1995.
That's why you know Billboard ain't shit.
What do you guys do with your everyday lives?
Because Hulk Hogan reached number 12 on fucking Billboard.
I don't do shit, apparently.
I don't do a goddamn thing.
God damn.
Thunder. I hope you have the Thunder in Paradise opening queued up.
No,
no,
I don't.
And I don't blame you because I don't do shit all to perform.
You know that was a TV show, right? That was filmed in Orlando.
If I know if Thunder in Paradise was a TV show,
it was in Orlando.
What the?
He used to drive from Tampa to Orlando.
Go make me break this shit, Beans. Of course. Sorry.
Was that one of your like wake up on Saturdays in pajamas?
Man, I don't. I can't say that I watched every episode of Thunder in Paradise, but I watched enough to know that it sucked.
But
I loved it.
But this is the theme, right? Like, I am a Hulk Hogan fan.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm a wrestling fan. Like,
I don't mind wrestling.
No, wrestling is cool. Like, I grew up with it. But the last time I watched wrestling was when it was WWF. That was a long time ago.
Watch it on TV. Me too. I can't. My uncle used to watch it, but I can't remember watching WWE necessarily. Maybe I did with my uncle at some point, but that was when I was like 12, bro, or like 13.
Bro, Vince McMahon is worth like $3 billion. A lot of people are watching this shit.
No, for sure. People love wrestling. People love wrestling, and people have a hard time separating themselves from wrestling. Like, you know it's not real, right, my guy? I'm not trying to be mean.
Well, it's a soap opera. It's like, why do women watch soap operas? You know it's not real, but they get super invested in these characters.
Yeah.
Soap operas, like General Hospital's been around since like the 60s or 70s.
Oh, yeah. Like maybe longer than that. A lot. Like, the shit's old.
Yeah.
I hear that. I just don't understand why you can't, like...
Well, you're invested in the story.
No, I hear you. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing. I guess, there's some cool shows that I've gotten invested in. I get like kind of passionate about. Shameless.
Yeah. At my worst, I go, oh.
Right.
And then I'm back into the world, and then I'm like, well, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not like, okay. That's not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These cats be fainting like Michael Jackson's in the building or something.
And there's so many people trying to do it, and only certain people really... Like, it's really the fans that make these acts, because no matter how many characters Vince McMahon or maybe Ted Turner when he ran the WCW, no matter how many characters they put up, they're not going to know who's going to hit with an audience, right? They can set them up as much as possible,
right?
But they got to wait and see. And then when it happens, like a Hulk, like a Rock, like any of these dudes, Undertaker was my favorite. Dude was crazy.
Undertaker.
I can't even remember Undertaker's face if I tried to.
Mine was the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, shit. He had his spurt, too.
He was the dude, man. He came in. He's just shaking everything. And shit's like, oh, man, this dude's all over the place. Holy shit. And then I think he died, too. Fucking heart attack. You know what I mean? Like, damn, dog. Ultimate Warrior died? How's that? And then they had, like, Papa Shango when everything went dark. Or Gold Dust.
What about the guy with the sock?
Before that, he was like Cactus Jack. Before he was kind of... Cactus Jack was like the thin guy, and then he turned into the...
Foley.
Like the Beast weird. Wasn't there like or he had like a twin. He was talking like this. Yeah. And man, or fucking Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Roddy Piper.
Owens brothers.
Wow, one of those were the Hart brothers.
Hart brother. No, was it Owens or Hart? Am I getting confused?
It was the Hart. Or is it Owen Hart? Owen Hart.
And the other...
Bret Hart.
Bret Hart died, right?
One of them.
No, Owen Hart died falling off the thing.
Like hit the fucking thing and died.
Yeah. Again, not necessarily wrestling aficionados, but...
Yeah. One of the Harts.
One of the Harts, man. You said Sting. Sting before he came out the ceiling.
I don't remember Sting.
You don't remember Sting before he came out the ceiling?
I remember the name, but I don't remember him.
Well, there was Sting with like the blonde hair.
Who was the really fat Samoan dude? Yokozama.
That's the Japanese dude.
Oh, okay. Razor Ramon. I actually met Razor Ramon. He lives around here.
I think he got arrested like some years
back. A lot of these guys get arrested.
Like Kevin Nash became an actor.
A lot of them progress into Hollywood and do,
Yeah, man.
I heard
Marine.
Vince didn't want Hulk to go into acting, and Hulk just left because he got offered that role in Rocky
as himself.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone had to reach out like twice because Hulk was like, "Who's this? Sylvester Stallone wants me to do what?" And then he came out and was part of it, and Vince is like, "Nah, I don't want you to be part of it because you're gonna take away from the wrestling schedule." And he went out and.
but it's needed to, man.
Yeah.
Got to shine. I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly. He was Marvelous Marvin or something like that in the movie. I can't remember the name.
I mean, the guy's lived a crazy life. This is a little bit of a doc I'm going to show. This is kind of like early Hulk Hogan.
He's a comic book hero come to life. At 6 feet
Stealing one of these.
and 300 pounds, he's wrestling's dominant symbol of the triumph of good over evil.
We're teaching a lesson. You know, the good guys win, and if you cheat and take shortcuts, you lose. Such is life.
He turned wrestling into a celebrity showcase that's now a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Hulk really kind of put wrestling on the map and made people watch it and come out of the closet to see it.
Hulk Hogan has never been far from controversy. He made a sudden switch from hero to bad guy that infuriated fans. And he was forced to make admissions about steroids in a court case that threatened to end his career. For 2 decades, he's been in the spotlight as both a wrestler and actor. But there's a Hulk Hogan the public seldom sees. Friends say he's a dedicated family man who spends countless hours helping children's charities, and that he's a savvy businessman who calculates every move he makes.
This guy's not some big wrestler. This guy has a lot of brains. He's a heck of a businessman. This is not an accident.
The little Hulkster was born Terry Bollea in August 1953 in Augusta, Georgia. Right from the start, Terry was a big boy.
He weighed 10.7 when he was born. Isaiah Starr was born that day. And we were awfully proud of him, even from a little fella.
Big boy.
Terry was the youngest of 3 brothers, and soon after he was born, the family moved to Tampa, Florida.
Ooh, Tampa!
He started school.
That Tampa water.
He literally stood out.
Kids in first grade made me quite aware that I had a very large head.
Hey!
And that pretty much stuck with me.
You do have
a big head.
You do have a big head.
Hey, big head.
I got a big head too, Hulk
on my
Hogan.
shoulder.
Look at the size of that thing.
For some reason, it was bigger than everybody else's.
Hell yeah.
When he was 6 years old, Terry became fascinated by wrestling. His hometown of Tampa was a thriving center for the sport.
That's the Bay right there?
Yeah.
He
Drove
lives
my
right
father
on that.
Crazy to take me
Or
to
he
the
lived
matches.
right on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Clearwater now.
Down to the Armory the first night in Tampa. That was it. I was hooked. I was a wrestling junkie, and I dreamed about it 24 hours a day.
Terry certainly had the right build for the sport. By the time he reached high school, he was
That's high
already
school.
as big as some wrestlers.
He looks like he's 35 years old in high school.
You know, he's 6'5", 250 pounds,
250?
230, 40 pounds.
6'5"?
It's a big
I
high
was
school.
I was 6'4", probably like 150.
Bro, that's not fair. You guys are starting to have... Did you see how little that girl was?
Yeah.
He was having sex with her?
How do you know what he was doing in high school?
Bro.
might have
He
been
was
shy.
tearing that little vagina.
He might have been shy. Might have been a shy guy.
Maybe.
His position on all fours. And,
I was a shy guy, Peans.
He went ahead and hooked me. And
He was not tearing vagina?
I was also a
sat out
regular
real
sized
quick,
person.
his arm, and I pinned
Yeah, he wasn't a wrestler either, bro.
him out of his
No.
mind. Crazy. And I mean, I just remember running for my life around the lockers in the shower area, running from him to stay away from him.
But Terry had interests beyond sports. He was a straight-A student, and one of his greatest loves...
All right, let's stop kissing his ass so much. This guy is our hero. America's hero, okay? Take your vitamins every night, brother. Remember that?
Yeah, there's more South in your version than he has in his version.
I'm not a professional wrestler, bro. I'm
No,
a
no, I mean,
professional
in your accent,
podcaster.
In your accent or your impression. Take the South out of it. Go again. Go.
No, I don't want to do that. I want to talk about the fact that why do we build people up in America with these fake facades? Okay?
It sells.
Yeah, true. But this was like America's Hercules. You know what I mean? He wanted to sell us all on this. I drank Tampa water, and this is what made these muscles huge. Mm-hmm. But in reality, he was popping the motherfucking roids, and he was going in
Shortcuts.
Remember at the beginning of this documentary, he says, "Don't take shortcuts, kids." But you got to take shortcuts. You think that's maybe why me and you never became wrestlers?
Maybe you. I think you wrestled. I didn't wrestle because I thought it was weird. I didn't want to wrestle.
Well, I did Greco-Roman wrestling in high school, but the thing is that's
specifically the one I thought was weird.
Maybe because I wasn't caught up in like
because of the history of it
being fake or like okay with facades. Like, this guy's a big guy, so he's probably getting a lot of energy from people growing up. Like, and I can only imagine this, and I'm drawing similarities. I'm a fat kid, right? People treat you a certain way when you're a fat kid, right? Comedy, joke driven, guy, hang out, cuddly guy from girls, soft kind of, so this is the energy you get from other people. It starts to scope your reality on who you are, tall guy, big with the ladies, like, this guy's a protective guy, like, I can be around him, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you get your own perception. This guy's fucking 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, dick the size of a fucking log, you know what I mean? Like, This has
allegedly
to build your perception on people, and it starts to attract. This is why me and you couldn't be wrestlers per se, right? Because what else would Terry Bollea be besides a wrestler or a football player or an action star? Like, this is what the universe has dealt for him. You know what I mean? So it's okay that he's a racist. It's okay that he does steroids because this is what life is dealing him at the time.
What do you mean it's okay?
It's okay in the sense because, all these things in life, every single encounter he's had with different people has led him to choose this career as a wrestler, right? And he knows already from the people that give him this energy, girls, his friends, like, big guy, strong guy, blah. He knows, okay, this is going to be my way of getting acceptance, right? So then when he's introduced to certain things, like being a racist, okay? Racism starts from an superiority complex. And people think that they're better than somebody else, so they gain these prejudice, and that makes them racist because they think that something's wrong with that group of people. Here comes the steroids, right? Remember we always talk about culture is what makes people. So the culture in wrestling is big guy, strong guy, go out there and if you want to maintain that lifestyle, here's some help. You know what I mean?
Right.
You need to take this if you want to live this lifestyle.
Yeah,
you know what
illegal,
I mean?
Because it's not a sport or whatever.
No, I think steroids were still illegal, certain steroids. And then because of all this controversy, they started to crack down more on them. But you're right.
It wasn't frowned upon.
In wrestling or in sports entertainment, since I guess there's no real winners and it's all acted out.
Yeah, it's not really
it's mostly about your look. Yeah. Kind of like in bodybuilding. Like, what do they do in bodybuilding? They're just
flex, popping, holding. I don't know if they do it quite like you're doing it.
It's there, though. You can kind of see.
I don't know. What you're doing is making me uncomfortable, but I hear what you're saying. Just stop. No.
I can't do it?
Well, it's like the sun.
You have to practice that?
Do you have to practice that?
Do you think it's awkward for them to be on stage? Like,
on stage, no. I would say on stage, no.
Why?
Because at that point, they're just like, they've trained to do that. Everybody in that room is about that. They're not up there like...
circumstance.
They're not up there like... it's not like a basketball game when you just get up and take all your clothes off and you're wearing a Speedo and you start posing. That would be awkward. It's like, everybody's here playing a basketball game, but Peans got up and is flexing right now, which is weird.
That's what I never understood about things. Like, when I wrestled, I would wear a singlet.
A singlet?
A singlet. You know what a singlet is?
It's just the one piece
thing?
Yeah.
It's a single. It looks like a 1950s bathing suit. balls, shit. You can see everything, right?
Your wanger come out.
Nobody's uncomfortable when men are running around in singlets. But if I was to just wear that shit,
I feel weird when I see people in it.
If I were just to wear that shit, you know what I mean?
Because they're there for that. That's your uni to wrestle.
But Hulk Hogan
it's not your union to go to Target.
But Hulk Hogan's uniform, he could walk around without a shirt. It's like Tupac. Tupac can walk around without a shirt.
Absolutely.
And it's cool.
It to a certain extent, sure.
I mean, yeah.
To a certain, I'm sure even Tupac couldn't go into certain places with his shirt off, or they would say something
like Court.
I don't know. Maybe Court would be one of them, or maybe certain restaurants, certain upper scale restaurants. He could probably go into Chili's or something with his shirt off and get his 2-for-1 beers, but like he'd have to wear a shirt in. I don't know. I don't know what a nice restaurant is. I'm broke.
Do you think it's the people's fault that we promote and big these people up to the point where they feel like they got to take drugs to look bigger, to represent a certain aesthetic and a certain personality for people to respect, and then that's gonna garnish them like a certain lifestyle, certain celebrity? Whose fault is it? Is it the people's fault, or is it the person's fault for creating that circumstance?
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
It's one of those things like, a certain thing was invented to do something, whatever it was, right?
Right.
One side likes it, the other side does it. The side that does it always wants the side that likes it to keep liking it and keep watching it or whatever, or participating in it. At a certain point, the one side maybe thinks it could be better. It doesn't know how, so the side that does it thinks of ways to make it better. So then it keeps doing that, and then it just keeps feeding it to each other. And the bigger and crazier that this thing does things, the more of the side watches it, and it just keeps feeding into each other.
I'm confused on what the fuck you just said,
bro. Like when football first started, they were barely throwing, and they had little leather helmets on, and barely anybody took it seriously.
People were still watching it.
Barely anybody took it seriously. It was low. It was not even rarely that popular. As it gained popularity, people did it more and more experience happened, things got fine-tuned, engineering got involved, science got involved, dietitians got involved, money got poured into it. Now, the onus is on who? Because I've got such a big audience, right? And I've set a precedent of what the level is that you're gonna start performing at. Whose fault is it that you're saying like I don't know. It's everybody. It's the situation.
Yeah. You're right, because in the early, like 70s and early 80s, all the wrestlers look like me and you,
regular ass dudes. Same thing with MMA, bro. The beginnings of MMA was just like regular ass bros getting in there and being like,
they could flex. You wouldn't feel awkward about this. It was regular.
It was just weird.
Now
it's like, now it's just like the same. It's basically looks like the same guy fighting. The same like style, the same moves that they're doing. It all got like filtered into now this is MMA. Now whose fault is that? Time's fault? I don't think you should blame anybody necessarily.
Well, it's not about blaming. It's just about building.
Fault.
Well, it's building a narrative, because eventually there is a fault, right? Because of right. We had all these sloppy looking dudes like me and you wrestling, and then people wanted, probably single-handedly, let's blame Vince McMahon for this, right? He wanted to drive a look, right? Because he this guy is raised in the wrestling ethos, right? His dad was a promoter. He became a promoter. So he's been bred into this culture, and he knows what works. He starts to see the bigger, muscular, comic book type of dudes become heroic, and they're easier to sell and translate. So let's build the culture on how are we going to get all these people to be muscular. Let's all start giving them steroids. Again, he's just the architect of this, right? He knows what works, and he's saying this color works with this palette, and this is the type of words we're gonna use, and these are the characters we're gonna build, and we need you to look muscular. And it's working because look at the ratings, right? But then fast forward into the early 90s when the FBI cracks down and they say something's wrong here. There's too many people taking steroids. You got a whole bunch of people fucking dying. It's a free-for-all backstage, you know. There's definitely drug use going on. There's definitely criminal activity going on.
Sports
Not to
and
mention there's mad racist shit going on because the stories that you hear backstage of like the way that the wrestlers would click up, it was like prison. You know what I mean? So at that point, yeah, you got to find a blame there. Whose fault is it? Is it Vince McMahon's fault for driving the culture and wanting to feed his audience and preparing, you know, the industry that we see now? Arguably, look at all the jobs it gave. Even just alone, the WWF franchise is worth about $3 billion. But then you have other stuff like the TNA that you worked for. So there's a huge industry, but the government says we have to blame somebody, or at least we have to, because it's such a big industry, we have to at least have more oversight, and we have to have
accountability.
Exactly, accountability. Build some type of regulatory stuff because other industries of sports have it, you know.
Yeah,
and they try to say, well, you know, look at what the Olympics do, and yeah, it's not a sport.
They're trying to argue that. That's why it's a free for all, because it's kind of the Wild Wild West, right? It came out of nowhere. Came from nothing and then ended up kind of shaping itself, being unregulated because it didn't. I mean, I guess it needs to be regulated, but it wasn't regulated, right? Because it was just a show. It was just this thing. It made, aside from making everybody super muscular or whatever, and forcing them, not forcing anybody, but again, I don't know what's the. You said he gave people steroids. What does that mean?
Well, in the case, let's bring this up real quick
because I don't want to speak out of turn. But also, he added someone had to add the theatrics to the whole thing. Right? Who was that? Who was the guy that came up with the idea to make everything?
Well, I think there was already
a pageantry.
There was already kind of stories and theme lines, but he really made that the driving factor of the whole show. That's why there was like 5, 10 minute, 30-minute segments of just dialogue and different things before even the physical activity.
Those are the best, man.
But well, a lot of people, real wrestling fans, before it transitioned into that narrative, a lot of people were against that because they just wanted to see physical people beating the shit out of each other. And he was like, "No, I want to captivate you with the story so that you're better, you know, you're better equipped to be a fan in his mind."
Yeah.
Because he's gonna drive. But this what happened with the case.
That shit's hard. Playing the low end.
Do this
you gotta stop doing that, man.
I'm gonna do this the whole episode.
You're already looking like King Louis.
What the fuck? Start already.
This is hardcore. Check those pants though.
Oh, this is the number 12 single. This is why we have to call him a musician.
Hulk Hogan was preparing to launch a multi-level career with Ted Turner's TV networks. When the going gets tough, the tough get rough.
Brother. That was a good one. Brother.
Under the deal, he would return to wrestling and continue conventional acting in TV dramas.
Yeah, brother.
He'd also have the time to indulge in another long-time interest.
Indulging.
Music.
Yo, he's got his wife on stage. Yo. My man's got his wife on stage.
He loved his wife.
But the ink on his contract with Turner was barely dry when Hogan found himself making unwanted headlines. His former boss, World Wrestling Federation owner Vince McMahon Jr., was charged with illegally supplying muscle-building steroids to his wrestlers. The FBI ordered Hogan to appear in court as its chief witness.
Damn, he had a rat on his boy.
The government needed one person.
He was a
that had
ratatata.
enough clout, basically because it was me, had enough visibility that I would...
Yo, Hulk Hogan invented clout.
Be like bolt of thunder coming from God that everybody would listen when I talked.
Hogan had always claimed in public that he'd never used steroids, but under oath, he admitted that like many professional sportsmen, he had taken them earlier in his career, before they were outlawed. Hogan testified, however, that McMahon had not supplied him.
Hey, you want some steroids?
Yeah,
yeah, brother. I'll take some steroids, brother.
It ruined me. The whole message of training, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, this all-American hero, which was this character, which was the right thing to tell the kids, all of a sudden the American public felt betrayed.
You grow up looking like me and you, bro.
I know, but listen, dog.
Nah, bro, I took my fucking vitamins and now I'm a chubby motherfucking 36-year-old motherfucker.
I always go back to this, bro. If your kid is so heartbroken and let down that some other person isn't who they're supposed to be, like, I understand being like, but like, for your child to be so invested, like all of his emotions or her emotions in this one person that isn't you as a parent, and they're let down, then you're not doing something entirely right. You're giving them too much. You got to let these kids know that that is not a person. That is not a real person. That is something else.
Well, yeah, I realized this when I grew up, bro. Yeah. That's when you realize it.
No. Someone tells you that.
No, you realize it because you don't have muscles like him.
No.
And then
someone tells you that.
Yeah, the FBI.
No. Your father tells you that. Or your mother tells you that.
What if you don't have a father or a mother that knows about steroids?
Your cousin tells you that. The internet tells you that.
Some people were raised by a TV set, bro.
Some people are raised by a TV set.
America.
No, I hear you.
You see what I'm saying?
A large majority, probably more than half.
I bet you a lot of those people grew up to vote for Trump.
You know what I mean? What I'm saying is that shouldn't be the case.
So somebody is at fault here.
Circumstances.
The water in Tampa.
Yeah, I know. I hesitate to blame somebody. You know? It's a terrible roll of the dice. It's a terrible.
Well, we got to find accountability. You know what I mean? I guess that's why so many people love MMA, because it's so real, right? There's not a facade. There's just like 100% real tough guys.
For sure. It's like one of the last things.
It's like in the 70s and 80s, motherfuckers really thought that like karate and like they could put you in a move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People fought way different. People were still doing this. Mm-hmm. People were doing like just weird shit, karate stances. Now motherfucker will go straight for a chokehold
and fuck your world up.
You know,
in like 7 seconds.
MMA and World Star videos. You know, that's why
people like those the most, because there's no facade.
Right.
There's nothing fake about it.
Well, it gets direct to the point. I don't think a lot of people really, maybe there was people always fought, right? But the narrative of just being fighters wasn't, we still had nerds. I don't think we have nerds anymore. You know what I mean? No. I don't think we're such a watered down culture that there's no more extremes to that extent. Like, you still have big ass motherfuckers and you still have little motherfuckers, but Rock is a nice guy. You know what I mean? Rock is a nice guy.
They're still around though.
Who's the bad guys nowadays?
What do you mean?
Who's the guy that played Aquaman? He looks like a dirty heroin addict.
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, Ashley's got a crush on him, so he looks kind of like a heroin addict to me.
I don't know him because, again, this shit is not real. But from what this shit says, he seems like a nice guy.
Anybody that's got super muscles to me is totally suspect. You'd be taking steroids, unless you're in jail.
I don't think that's true.
Nah, there's some jail people that get out of jail. I follow some of these guys on YouTube. They're like just out of jail videos. Mm-hmm. These guys are big as fuck. And they got big with like top ramen and peanut butter. No steroids.
Proteins.
And like fish grease.
That sounds delicious, actually. Yeah. Top ramen and peanut butter. Yeah, sounds very...
You need to slow down, bro.
Sounds very Thai. Slow down what? What do you mean slow down?
That's not good.
What do you mean? It sounds delicious.
Top ramen and peanut butter, bro?
Yeah, it sounds very Thai. Sounds like a...
They put peanuts inside the soup?
They use peanuts in a lot of stuff.
That's disgusting.
I bet you any amount of money I can take you somewhere and have something with noodles and peanut butter and you'd like it.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I like PBJ.
That's something different, but those are delicious too.
I want to play this clip of his parents because
Hogan's parents.
Yeah, because we've talked about the narrative of him being this great magical person that everybody looked up to and was America's Hercules.
Yeah, The Rock's America's Hercules.
Kimberly said he was part of the gay underground's little dick clan, but that's allegedly.
I don't even know what that means. I didn't understand it when she said it.
She pulls facts from the internet, but at this point, maybe this is where that narrative was driven, because at this point, after people moved the curtain behind the Wizard of Oz and found the little guy playing inside his testicles. This is a far-fetched metaphor, but you get what I'm saying. People found out that the steroid man was there, and that's what made the muscles.
Steroids have given him little testicles,
and that's what made the muscles. Okay, when people found out about that, he became a bad guy, and you got to shout out Hulk Hogan knowing how to reinvent himself.
Yeah, man. Especially in an industry where you can.
Well, he's the good thing about this guy is he's a listener. He's an understander. Because you have to be that type of mentality in order to change, in order to reinvent yourself. And I'm not going to pull up the clip because it was in my deep knowledge, investigative journalism research that I was doing. I found out that the reason why he became a bad guy or a heel, which is a wrestling term.
Ding, ding, ding,
yeah,
ding.
Babyface is good guys. Heels bad guys.
Oh, a babyface? I didn't know babyface.
Yeah, babyface is a good guy.
I didn't know that.
So he becomes a heel because him and his manager Hart, little short midget Oompa Loompa guy,
Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
He notices. I don't know if it's him or Hogan, but they're talking about a match, and at the end of the match, they're like, "Did you notice there was a lot more booze?" And because of that, it sparked an idea to turn bad. You know what I mean? But I want to play this clip of the way even his dad.
And there were boos during the time steroid stuff was in the media.
Right.
It was just that time. If he knew then what we know now, as far as things being in the media and how it's just gonna go away, you know what I mean? Just wait it out. Will you think he have been a heel?
I just think he should have been honest and just apologized about it and say, hey, I'm just human. Instead of creating an alternative thing, that's what led him to the heel, because he wasn't honest about it. So he had to figure out, he's like, oh, people hate me anyway because of the way I answered, so let me just be the bad guy. If he didn't answer like that.
But do you think if he hadn't said anything and just kept the trail,
he would have died off?
You think he would have died off?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think people would ever.
But what happens now? It just goes away. Shit just goes away, bro. Yeah, it just goes away. Chris Brown is allowed to make mistakes constantly, or be involved in drama constantly.
The last time he was really in drama was the Rihanna shit. Then everybody else traces him after.
R. Kelly still isn't all the way done. And he's doing crazy shit.
That's true.
Still,
but he's about to go down.
About to now.
Yeah.
Years. The same shit that's going on with Terry the Hulk Hogan was going on with R. Kelly back then, and he's just now.
Terry, hold on. Hulk Hogan
not
was
the
peeing
same.
all over
No,
girls?
not the same type of stuff. I just mean the time frame.
I was about
to
back that truck winning. No, that's not winning.
Yo, no, I'm sorry. That this shit happened in the 90s or whatever is when he was getting in trouble with his stuff too, right?
Yeah.
It was in the 90s, right?
Well, now they know how to do that one. And then another thing too is that there's so much shit going on that people just, we're a culture of moving on to the next thing. Who's the next motherfucker we're trying to tear down? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that would happen more. That could have happened more back then. If they just went away.
Well, regardless, you got to give it up to him for being able to
maneuver and
pivot. Genius.
That I didn't think he was capable.
Yo, his wife looks just like his daughter.
He was that mean.
Good.
couldn't go along with.
Look at his little dad.
Stuff.
See,
But,
that's what
that's
regular ass dude without steroids. This is what he would have looked like.
Where's his mom?
anyway, it seemed
Is she
to
a
be
giant
on
person?
the ball game, and I just overlooked it.
I did get after him for that.
Ric
though.
Flair
I
with
did
short
tell you.
hair.
I know this is all part of the
When he was
show,
a good guy.
But do you realize you get
A baby face.
and these kids all look
That's
up
his
to
mom?
you.
Oh, his mom's kind of big woman.
Say your prayers, take your vitamins.
Ruth.
and respect
Her
your
name
parents.
is Ruth.
Now you're acting like this. I said, well, how do you think it's going to affect him?
Hulk Hogan had always been proud of being a role model for kids. He defended his actions by saying he was still a role model, except that now he was showing kids what not to do.
I definitely want them to know that when you're a bad guy and you take shortcuts, you're going to fall short of your goals. Hollywood Hogan cannot win a match, and if I do, I cheat. And if I get by 1 week by the skin of my teeth, the good guy sure makes up for it the next week. And as a good guy, I was a world champion for 10 years, and as a bad guy, I can't hang on to that darn belt to save my life.
Hogan became the wrestler the fans love to hate, and once again, the ratings soared. In fact, as the anti-heroes, the Hulk and his fellow villains became more popular than the good guys.
The meaner I got, and the more dirty stuff I did to the good guy wrestlers, the more that they would cheer for me. So much that it became a big political dilemma behind the scenes. The good guy wrestlers were being like a bunch of crybabies to the promoters. These guys are so cool, they don't like us anymore.
Hulk played his bad guy image to the hilt, including the time he terrorized an unsuspecting Mel Gibson. The actor had just lost a friendly wager of $50 to Hulk's wrestling buddy, Brian
Chicken
Knobbs.
nugget. Brian Chicken Nugget Dobbs. What is that?
What happened to the story?
Oh, you want to hear the story?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I get the $50 right here, and Hulk Hogan came up behind him and grabbed him by the shoulder and said, $50? Knobbs just said you owe him 50 grand. You bet him 50 grand on the fight. I thought Mel Gibson had just shocked himself. He went, oh, what? I didn't bet $50. It was $50. Hey, but. And then we laughed about it. It was just, good funny joke. I mean, Mel appreciated it afterwards,
Right.
We kind of got Mel Gibson.
Nope.
Yo,
That's not funny at all.
Remember you were talking about who's the guy that gets invested in the story?
That guy?
This is the wrestling fan right here. This is the face of wrestling. This is such a memeable face right here.
Yeah, man, it's not real. But
that's what Hulk Hogan would have
Yeah,
looked
shit
like
on
if he didn't take steroids.
I can't shit on it, man. I tried to.
Shit on what?
Just that sort of enthusiasm, that fan enthusiasm.
It's corny, but it's fun.
It is, man. It's scary, man.
What, the fanaticism?
The intensity. Yeah, the intensity.
Yeah, brother!
Look at his eyes.
Well, maybe because they're taking so much drugs and shit.
Look at his eyes, man. That doesn't scare you?
Yeah. Absolutely. Look how corny it was back then. Inside edition.
Little dude's out there that's been training, saying his prayers, and eating his vitamins. Someday he's gonna knock me off.
He is the king of the ring, but many former
Training,
wrestlers
saying his prayers,
say
eating his
it
vitamins.
wasn't prayers and vitamins that made Hulk Hogan a giant.
Look at that little thing.
Was it prayers and vitamins?
Have injected Hulk Hogan with anabolic steroids.
Yo, he does the hydrogen peroxide thing
Why is
too.
he biting his goatee and then getting mad at him? This music is killing. That shit is so crazy. Ooh, took his move. Yeah, brother.
The only sport where you're allowed to kick a man when he's
The only
down.
sport where you have a man's balls on your face.
The only sport where you're encouraged to taunt your opponent. The only sport that has admitted to fixing the outcome.
Damn, it's okay to just beat women.
The undisputed king of the ring is Hulk Hogan. Hero to
Trump
thousands
Plaza.
of Hulkamaniacs, as his young fans are called. The Hulkster
Hulkamaniac.
preaches clean living, prayer, and vitamins.
And
as
don't
the
take
key to
steroids.
success.
Don't
I'm
take
the last great
steroids.
American hero since John Wayne died. Forget the baseball players. Forget the football players.
See what I'm saying? The white people that were driving the truck of America's mindset, they were John Wayne fans.
Yeah, but again, this is just The WWF.
No, this is the time. The late 80s. This is when, right before In Living Color came. As soon as In Living Color came, white people were corny. Before that, white people were not corny. After In Living Color, white people became corny. You know, like the white jokes and the corny white guy. That's when it started to be like 96, 97.
Hulkamania is what tears Madison Square Garden in every major arena down around the country.
But some of his former colleagues say that the gospel, according to Hulk Hogan, is not quite kosher.
The kids are believing that if they take their vitamins and say their prayers, that they're going to grow up to be
He came to my school when I was
athlete.
Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
I thought you said you never met Hulk Hogan.
I never stood in front of him and shook his hand necessarily, but he was in my classroom flexing in front of us.
Oh, you seen him?
Yeah, he came to my class when I was like in
where?
First or second grade, Tinker Elementary in Tampa, Florida.
Wow.
Dale Mabry, you go down Dale Mabry, you go to MacDill Air Force Base, go on to Air Force Base, and yeah, there it is, Tinker Elementary. And he came in, and he was, you know, he was that big. And I just remember him being up there doing this.
Do you remember when he was going through the whole sex tape lawsuit thing?
Kinda. I mean, I remember it being. I don't remember where I was necessarily because it didn't register on my radar. Because
what didn't register?
Well, it didn't make. I didn't care.
You didn't want to watch a Hulk Hogan sex tape?
Not at all. Not even in the slightest. Never in life. Then, in the past, all the way up to now, and probably and forever on.
Not even just to say you've seen it.
Not at all.
I couldn't find it online. I tried to see it, but
that's weird.
Gawker lawsuit. Main article: Bollea v. Gawker. In April 2012, a sex tape between Hogan and Heather Clem, the estranged wife of radio personality Bubba the Love Sponge, emerged online.
Bubba the Love
On
Sponge.
October 4th, 2012, Gawker released a short clip of the video. In the video, Bubba can be heard saying that the couple can do their thing and he will be in his office. At the end of the video, he can also be heard telling Heather, "If we ever need to retire, here is our ticket."
Damn dog.
Hogan later told Howard Stern on his satellite radio show that, "It was a bad choice and a very low point and I was with some friends and made a wrong choice. It has devastated me. I have never been this hurt." On October 15, 2012, Hogan filed a lawsuit against Bubba and Heather Clem for invading his privacy. A settlement with Bubba was announced on October 29, 2012. Afterwards, Clem publicly apologized to Hogan. In December 2012, a federal court, the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, found that Gawker's publication of the video snippet did not violate U.S. copyright law. Hogan then joined Gawker to the ongoing action against Heather Clem in state court in Florida, alleging invasion of privacy, negligent and intentional infliction of emotional distress and seeking $100 million in damages. On October 1, 2015, the New York Post reported that a Florida judge granted Hogan access to Gawker's computer system for a forensic expert to search Gawker's computers and office. Hogan sued Gawker for $100 million for defamation, loss of privacy, and emotional pain, and on March 18, 2016, was awarded $115 million. Also, on August 11, 2016, a Florida judge gave Hogan control of the assets of A.J. Del Rio, former Gawker editor-in-chief, who was involved in the posting of Hogan's sex tape. Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel helped Hogan to finance his lawsuit against Gawker Media. On November 2, 2016, Gawker reached a $31 million settlement with Bollea.
$31 million!
So he got 31 of that 140?
Nah. I think he only got like maybe 5 or 10 because there was a lot of money that still had to get paid to the attorneys. And then I think, like I said, there was a billionaire dude
Peter Talia?
Right.
Teal? Some shit like that.
Yeah. Well, what happened was that Gawker, being the controversial media outlet that they are, they dropped a piece about the billionaire guy being like an in-closet gay guy. Didn't want a lot of people to know. Billionaire guy took it personal, like, why the fuck are you telling people about this? It's my personal thing. And Gawker had that narrative of pushing personal narratives his stories at least were always like personal things.
Yeah,
and
outing several billionaires.
Right.
Or not necessarily
and even
billionaires,
famous
but
people
like
or just things that
a lot of their stories had to do with people's personal sexual preference or just stuff that wasn't necessarily deemed newsworthy.
Right.
They just wanted to tell people's business.
And just like some National Enquirer shit, people are intrigued by it, and you know. So Bubba the Lunch Sponge is from Tampa also. He's a very well-known radio personality. He's kind of like a shock jock.
I remember
Howard
him
Stern.
when I was a kid.
Yeah, so he had a hot,
Sponge.
he had a hot little sexy wife, and I guess they were swingers. And you know, shit, you want to fuck Hulk Hogan, babe? You know what I mean? I'm sure that was a conversation that was brought up. And you know, like Kimberly was saying, Bubba was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go in the office. You guys do what you got to do." Now Bubba had some security. According to him, it wasn't like a regular camera. It was a security camera that would take footage of his house just for security purposes, right?
He had a camera up in his bedroom.
Right.
In the corner, like surveillance style.
So somehow Bubba says that people that were cleaning his house and just people that help manage his life basically got a hold of the tape, and they're the ones that released it.
That's what he says.
Right.
I don't know about all that.
I mean, what you think he sold it to Gawker?
I mean, allegedly, you can hear him saying, "This is our retirement," right?
Right.
Now he's saying that he was just joking.
Well, he didn't really get apparently no money because the guy like lost a lot of his like radio shit, and now I think he works construction.
I thought he died.
Nah, he's still alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. He definitely lost out on whatever he could have benefited from.
Did Bubba die?
I thought he did, but maybe I'm wrong. About to find out if you're alive. Still alive.
Still alive.
Not married to that lady anymore.
Nah, for sure not.
She's like, nah.
He's got a girlfriend now. I don't know if I am down with that. Like
what?
You don't? Do you have that in your relationship where like there's like a famous past, right? Like, there's a famous person that you had a crush on as a kid or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, famous past in the way that we understand each other may act weird, I guess, in front of said.
But you're allowed to fuck?
No.
Right.
It's not none of that. But it's like, if so-and-so comes up, I may not be able to handle my shit correctly. I still love you, but, you know.
Right.
Thor is here. Or whatever.
I think that's the difference between like a regular sex tape and then or letting your significant other have sex with somebody regular or like a super famous person. I mean, either way, it's another individual, but I guess it's the notoriety of the person, and
shit don't mean nothing. You know what I mean?
Apparently, it meant enough to this girl.
Well,
this lady,
she wanted to fuck Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
so she did.
It was a swinger shit.
Or her husband made her feel like she had to, and she did.
You think it's cool that billionaires like push their money around,
like the Peter Thiel guy?
Yeah, you think that was fair? Or you think Gawker had the right to put the tape out? I mean, it was already out. In a sense.
I'm always the person for balance and fair, you know. So no, I guess not. It sucks because I guess I agree with the billionaire in this instance, but it's a slippery slope. You know, you start just saying that's okay. So the Gawker was worth $250 million. So if this guy's a billionaire and he puts up $10 million of his dollars, it's nothing really of him to sink this company. You know what I mean? So yeah, the Gawker seemed to be kind of a shitty company. The things that they did were like shitty. They just put people's business on blast for no other reason than to just put them on blast, right? But what if it was a company that was doing great shit for, you know, like actually positive things, and some billionaire person who's not into nice shit happening, which I assume happens all the time.
Yeah.
I assume that I heard an interview with this dude, Peter Thiel or whatever. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he said that the lawsuit Hulk Hogan wouldn't been able to afford, because
It would've
the
drug it
middle
out.
class, the upper middle class, and the single digit millionaires can't afford that. I was like, fuck, the single digit millionaires, they're poor. Yeah, I mean, I know they're not like the richest of the rich, but I thought like once someone becomes a millionaire, you're at least not poor anymore, but you're still poor.
You're still poor, bro.
You're still a broke motherfucker.
Resources.
Like,
especially in the eyes of the criminal justice system. I mean, it happens all the time. Like you got
just
that
get
long
priced
money.
out.
You got that long
and
money.
I knew that. We know that. You know what I mean? I'm not that naive to it. What the shit that kind of blew my mind was the single digit millionaire still essentially is poor.
Yeah.
So that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, well, poor in the eyes of, the type of resources, yeah,
like
and the way you defend
way he
yourself.
Put it, this is the one I saw where the guy was like, "Bro, Hulk Hogan wouldn't have been able to fight this battle."
But it goes back to the thing with like Chris Brown, because he did fuck Rihanna up, and that's the fucked up part. But after he gained that notoriety and all these media outlets were driving this narrative, he becomes a check for other people.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him more of a bad guy. So everybody, since you constantly see it, and we know that you're going to feed, well, the media outlets know you're going to feed into it. The attorneys know that if they approach you, you're going to want to settle because you don't want to go to court. You know, again, you have money, but you ain't got the long money.
Yeah.
So here's $100,000 just because I don't want to have to go to court for 4.5 years. So it makes you look even more guilty.
Yeah.
And that's the society we're living in.
Because you settle, but it's cheaper to settle.
And at that point, you're like, fuck it, I'll just be a bad guy.
And it's a cycle. Then you just dive head first into it deeper and deeper. Now you're really a bad guy.
Bro, there's attorneys that I seen this in Silicon Valley, but this is also true. Have you ever seen Silicon Valley, the show?
All seasons.
You remember about the attorney that looks at the new 500 companies that reach the 500 mark, and then he goes and sues them because he has like this patent of whatever.
Where's the music one?
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, just give me $10,000 or because you don't want to go to court. And that's what he makes his whole career.
Yeah.
Is just our research is coming. Oh, you've reached a certain threshold? Well, I know you at least have $10,000.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to have to go to court with me. And it's just like a vulture.
It's so shitty, yeah.
A vulture industry.
And it works.
Bro,
It's a loophole.
attorneys make a lot of smart attorneys make their first fortunes on these small lawsuits like that.
Yeah.
Not even going to court.
No, just
you settle because you don't want to have to deal with the court battle.
I forgot who it was. Somebody recently was just like, "No, I got time. I'm gonna have. It's gonna cost me way more money."
Oh,
than I have."
remember that Justin, the Epstein guy?
Was it Epstein? No, it was
the billionaire dude.
There's somebody I'm thinking about. An artist recently that got lied on. And they're just like, you know what? I got time today, and I'm gonna spend my. And then he even said, it cost me way more money to prove. I keep thinking Bow Wow, but I don't know why Bow Wow's in my brain. Is it Chris Brown? No, then Chris Brown was too recent about the girl who raped her, or who
Nelly?
No, I don't know. I'll maybe think of it in a minute, but he just spent that money.
It's definitely like it builds this narrative of an unjust society because it's all fueled by money.
Yeah.
And this is the guy Peter Thiel talking about.
Yeah.
Club surrounded by journalists. Do you believe you've set a dangerous precedent in secretly suing Gawker in connection with its publication of the Hulk
It's
Hogan?
not much of a secret
I
now.
don't think so. Let's start with the facts of the case. It involved a sex tape. If you make a sex tape of someone with their permission, you are a pornographer. If you make a sex tape without their permission, we were told now, you are a journalist. I would submit that as an insult to all journalists. This is not about the First Amendment. It is about the most egregious violation of privacy imaginable, publishing a sex tape surreptitiously filmed in the privacy of someone's bedroom, and to hide behind the First Amendment, behind journalism. That is an insult. That is an insult to journalists. I believe journalists are a privileged group in our society. They play an important role in getting us information in our system of checks and balances. But these were not journalists.
Well, do you think what happened to Gawker could happen to other news publications? I mean, could wealthy, powerful people seek revenge against a news organization because of something they didn't like and use their influence and money to take them out?
You know, they shouldn't. Wealthy people shouldn't do that. I think if they try, they won't succeed. You know, Gawker was a pretty flimsy business. It was a bad business. It didn't make that much money, but they could have withstood all the lawsuits. They lost because of an enormous verdict that came in against them.
Are you engaged in any other lawsuits against news organizations?
I've been involved in the Gawker case. Nothing.
It's a hard time answering that one.
My thought was, again, they were a singularly sociopathic bully. My view is that other journalists, other media organizations were not remotely in the same ballpark.
Tell us how you got involved, and especially how and when you got connected to Charles Hardner, Hulk Hogan's lawyer in the Gawker case, and why you did this, secretly.
It was one of these things where, as you got involved, you came to believe in the justice of the case more and more because there were so many different people.
There's both sides too. He's using his money for good in his eyes. You know what I mean?
In many cases, in most cases, it was not super prominent people. It was or super wealthy people. It was people who couldn't afford to do anything. And one of the striking things is that if you're middle class, if you're upper middle class, if you're a single-digit millionaire like Hulk Hogan, you have no effective access to our legal system. It costs too much. This was the modus operandi of Gawker in large part.
That's crazy, man.
To go after people who had no chance of fighting back. We can.
And that happens all the time to other parts of the, social ladder. Does have to do with just entertainment. Sometimes it has to do with just buddy around the corner.
Yeah.
Who can't afford to, like the dude Freeman that you were going to do the documentary on. He would get tickets for being homeless. How do you ticket somebody for being homeless? They can't pay to be homeless. Then he'd go to jail for 3 months or the winter. Then he'd get out and he'd be sober.
Yeah, what happens with that is that you have people that have money that have a voice and that can influence local government. That's where it comes from. It's just people that drive by downtown or live downtown, right? And they see these homeless people and they're like, what is this? And they call their congressman or they call the mayor. They're like, we need to do something like this. And that forces the mayor to pass an ordinance. And now...
No, yeah, but that's beside the point. What I'm saying is he doesn't have the money to defend himself at all. Like, he doesn't have any... He's a lower version of what this guy's talking about. You know what I mean? He can't do anything about it. And it's just going to continue on until he's able to do something about it.
Yeah. But it's on this side of the thing, I think it was an important thing because it allowed for Terry Hulk Hogan to kind of seek some type of, because poor guy was like, Terry was going through some shit. He was like, at this time, this is right before the lawsuit, okay? Because this is, why did he he had a happy life with a happy wife and all this, and then it spiraled out of control. And then it led to maybe some swinger lifestyle, or you think he was always a swinger?
I mean, it's hard to believe that Terry Hulk Hogan was, faithful to his wife.
You think so?
Through the 80s and 90s and the 2000s.
See what you think about his vibe. This is where he's going to be talking about getting into.
I watched the reality show too when they were together.
And what, he was cheating on her?
A lot of people.
No, in the reality show, obviously he's a dedicated husband and father.
Right.
What, in the reality show?
Yeah.
He's a dedicated.
Well,
and in this nice edited together piece, he's a dedicated. What I'm saying is, he's a nationwide for sure, but worldwide figure, and for guys like that are, it just surprises me when people like that get married. Like when Usher got married, I was like, that's weird. Why would you get married, Usher? Just go out and just go ush the ladies.
But maybe they just want one girl. Maybe they're sick of.
No, any number of reasons. I know that. What I'm saying is they have this. They have this. I don't know if it's a gift necessarily, but they have this thing.
So why not?
And like, especially early on, like cats getting married and it's 22 years old. I'm going to get married. It's like, no, you're, like the NBA player who got the Kardashian that married a Kardashian back in the day. He wasn't a very good player, whatever his name was. I'm like, why would you marry somebody if you're a famous NBA player going from city to city every year?
I get that, but he married her at a later time in his life when he was kind of maybe done with all that. You know what I mean?
Like,
and they were together for like 30 years.
Oh, later time in his life, 30 years. How old is the dude?
He got with her when he was like 27, and then he divorced her when he was like 50.
Okay, I guess I can count 27 as later time.
Used to be, you're not the same guy. Your ex-wife, your 52-year-old wife living with an 18-year-old boy. If that would have been back in the day,
damn, his wife left him for an 18-year-old kid.
Good for her, man.
When you get done with him, Hogan, he'd spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. And I said, guys, I'm not the same guy. Maybe you don't recognize
sad dramatic music.
Yeah, it's good.
This is who I am. This is really me. This is what I've been all along. I just didn't know it.
He got the Bubba shirt on. That was really his buddy.
No, he was his friend for a long time.
I just didn't understand.
He was the big radio guy in the city. He lived in the city.
Wow,
he was from the city.
Earth, but I know now. So
that's the most Florida-ist shot.
Driving down
that's the traveling.
That's the whole turnpike.
It's the turnpike is down I-4 is up and down 75.
The title would be The Real Hulk Hogan, because this is the real
boa,
me.
the feather boa.
He used to have to cut little slits because he couldn't just rip that shirt off. Like that's not
he could
the easiest
have.
thing.
He could have, but it's easier.
It's easier. Yeah,
got you, man. Pre-treated.
It's a lot of shirts you're ripping. How many shirts you think he ripped
in his lifetime? 12,000.
That's a good number.
I was gonna say 10, but I wanted to add 2 on top of it just for
yeah. Because you could believe that.
Yeah,
that makes sense. It's a lot of cuts.
I wonder if he did all of them or if he had a person. His assistant didn't.
Nah, well, maybe when he was younger he had somebody else, but now when I don't know if this is gonna. I don't know if this is a specific video, but there's one where you actually see him cutting it now.
Yeah.
When he was wrestling for TNA.
When he did his own. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Cutting my own shirts up and shit.
He made hundreds of millions.
Made hundreds of millions. Yeah, I would never be living like that, bro.
Everything was a fight for me.
You know what I mean? Even if I made that much money.
My family, financially.
I don't think I'd ever be able to live like that.
What were you saying?
I said I don't think I've ever be able to live like that.
What, in a big ass house?
Well, just, yeah. Like, that's so opulent, so crazy.
Destroyed.
Even if I had that much money.
Everything I ever saved, I lost because of a bunch of situations, Even though the
we're watching him take a shower.
It's like
we are kind of honed in on this one part. He still looks pretty good. if we're looking.
Any properties? He had that really nice house in Clearwater.
Yeah, man, for sure. I used to eat right there at the Colonnade. That's where I first got introduced to alligator.
Ooh.
Mornings aren't what I would like to call normal. There's an agenda when I get up, and it's usually based around lawyers.
Oh, that's right. Remember when his son was in that crazy car accident? They left the guy paralyzed?
He was like a street racer.
Yeah.
He like Oxy or something like that. Was it Oxy? I think it was some sort of painkiller. So he's having problems. I think that happened during the filming of the reality show.
Right.
Something Hogan. And then Brooke got her own reality show.
Because she wanted to be a hip hop star, like a singer.
She was. She had a couple singles.
But then during that sex video, he's heard saying, I was kind of wanting Brooke to be successful, but then I realized that this hip hop industry is all full of like these successful black dudes, and they probably want to fuck my daughter. And I'm not racist, but if she is gonna be with a nigger, she should be with one that has money. And that's when the racist shit came out. But there's this other episode. Remember Who Kid?
Yeah.
So this is a Who Kid episode, and this is where he's basically talking about, you know, like why it's okay for him to say the N-word, in a sense, because of, again, like the culture of wrestling and the narrative of everybody calling him the N-word.
So he did his thing in L.A., he went to engineering school, you know, he's got his license in mastering and mixing, and he's down here in the studio in Miami, and, you know, DJing at night, and everything's cool, man. He's on track. And last Wednesday at Live, when Diplo was DJing, I don't know what happened, but that kid who's really cool, man, I don't know what you... No, I'm not fighting saying he's my boy. No, but at the end of the day, all these new wrestlers, I got mad respect for them. But one of the reasons I still think I'm important and I'm trying to pass this art form along is I watch some of these guys, and I never used to talk to anybody. I just go out in the ring, and I know who was going to win or lose because it was predetermined. And so if I had a 20 or 30 match with you or Andre the Giant, you listen to the crowd with your heart and your ear. And you know, like, if I twist the wrist and that's not working, maybe you should do something else. Or you kind of like listen to the crowd because it's an art form. But all of a sudden, these new wrestlers who I got mad respect for, I'll be at the production meeting at 12, and I'll be walking around. I'll see the two guys that are going to wrestle, and they've been talking for like 6 hours about an 8-minute match. And I look at them, and I go, you guys are planning all this shit out? I said, what happens if you get out there and everything that you're planning doesn't work? Do you just keep doing what's not working? You know? And so one of the reasons I'm there is I'm trying to tell these guys, and some of these guys have an 8-minute match, and they do more moves in an 8-minute match than I did in 30 years. So I said, slow down, tell a story. One big punch, no, like one big kick means more than hanging on the ropes and stomping a mud hole in a guy. Exactly. You have to tell a story, paint a picture. It's storytelling. It's drama. It's excitement. It's putting people on the edge of the seats. I didn't know that your ears would ring that long.
Yeah.
You know.
Like Dr. Dre, you ever bang Dr. Dre before you go out? And
well, if you don't know, well, now you know. He's my man, brother. Every time, you know, you got to go back to the source of the force, you know. And Big Papa, I'm telling you what, you can turn all this new stuff on. You can be the newest wrestler. You can jump off the top rope, but back at the end of the day, it's back to the creator, brother.
Thank you, pal. The Jesus Christ of wrestling is
No,
here.
I'm talking about the Jesus Christ of getting real with it in the streets. You know, I'm talking about, you know, Big Papa. I'm talking much respect.
Wow. Talking about corny earlier.
No disrespect to anybody else, but go back to Biggie if you want to get real about all this other bullshit going on.
When was the last time you smacked Ed McMahon? When was the last time you saw him?
Vince McMahon.
I said Ed. I'm sorry, Vince McMahon. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, that was
Ed McMahon. God bless him.
I'm sorry, R.I.P.
That was
trying to find out.
That was WrestleMania 19, man. Me and him get into it.
N-word.
Seattle. Actually, bro, you know, when you get in the ring with somebody, you know, when you got a house where there's 20, 30, 40, you know, that's one of the reasons I'm kind of like jacked up about, you know, this TNA Impact Wrestling. You know, it's kind of like we're not trying to make wrestling, and this isn't a promo rap. This is just straight up. We're not trying to make wrestling
keeping
like
it real in the streets.
We're trying to make wrestling how it should be. And it's still violent, man. It's still hitting people with chairs and getting their heads with blades and stuff, man. You're still real.
You know, what did you say? That Who Kid, what was his position on it?
That everybody in Miami used to be like, what's up, my nigga, blah, blah, blah. So he used to be like, what's up, my nigga, blah, blah, blah.
He was saying it back in the 80s, but he said it now.
Yeah, he's been saying it.
So he's just saying it sort of like he's saying keeping it real in the streets.
I think that at once he was like overwhelmed with like the notoriety of being like this super dude and good old boy, right? And the good old boys just thought that, you know, blacks were inferior to them, so it's like that stupid nigga or whatever. But then when he was in the music world with his daughter, he's trying to see that these guys have a lot of power and influence, and that started to like, all right, well, if he is gonna have sex with one of them, let it be with somebody with money here. So it's just the dude is just like, you know,
if he's too out of touch to realize using that word in that way is going to affect him negatively, then he deserves the negative impact that comes down on him. Anybody in this 2018, I know it's a couple years after he actually said it, but in the 2000s, I would think 2010s, let's say the 10s, after 2010, if you're a person in this world that is surprised when you get a negative reaction by using that word, you deserve whatever happened to you, bro. Whatever negative thing that happens because of that, that's on you.
Yeah.
You should know by now, even as a black person, using that word in any kind of like...
But do you think he's a racist?
Nah. I don't think so. I think he's maybe prejudiced.
He's a part-time racist.
As we all are in certain instances. I think maybe him more than others because of his age. It's not necessarily his fault. His age may have something to do with it. People of a certain age grow up in a certain time in a certain blah,
South,
blah. Again, it's coming up when you could use that word amongst people and it'd be all good. But I don't know, man. I can't jump inside his head.
Yeah.
But it never felt like it to me. But he didn't look down at me.
All around, good Florida man or bad Florida man?
Hulk Hogan? I would say Hulk Hogan's a good Florida man.
I would say so too. I would even go as far as saying he was a great Florida man, and he did a lot of great things for the world, and he represented for Florida.
He definitely repped Florida.
Yeah.
And even in his scandal.
Even with a receding hairline, man pulled it off.
I don't know. Is it receding if it's completely gone?
Well, that was his Achilles heel. You know how like Hercules had
taking off his
heel. Is that the right Hercules? No, it was Achilles. Why did I say
his Achilles heel that Hercules had?
Hulk Hogan's Achilles heel was his receding hairline.
Right, again, is it receding or is it completely gone?
Whatever. It's
the
running.
lack of a hairline.
It's running for cover.
He was worried because it made his head look bigger. His big head bigger.
Bro, we talked an hour and 31 minutes about fucking Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, man.
Right here. It's the Fresh Produce Florida podcast. Fresh Produce Florida Media at Gmail. Email us some motherfucking insight. Let us know what you think.
Questions.
We've been doing this for a while, you know? We want to make sure you guys are intrigued by these stories. Let us know. Dial in, subscribe to, like, let us know. But other than that, I gotta go blow my nose. Booger almost came out of my nose. Peace.
Oh.